When you write a story, what you're actually doing is writing half the story, and the other half of the story is provided by the recipient, you, or whoever else.
I love Ex Machina. It has so many layers, so many possible interpretations. It makes us think about the mind, about the difference between simulating and really knowing, really feeling, about AIs overcoming humanity. But then when the credit screens rolls up, a song starts. It's called Husbands by the group Savages. And that changed completely how I viewed the movie. It made me think of Ava not as a thing but as a person, not as a robot but as a woman who wants to be free. Is Ava just simulating human behavior, or does she have consciousness? Consciousness is not just processing data, processing information. Deep Blue, the computer that won against Kasparov, doesn't have consciousness. Does the Deep Blue really know how to play chess? Does Deep Blue feel the thrill of competition? There are many thought experiments about theories of mind, but the movie only clearly states two: the Turing test and Mary's room. There are thousands of videos in the Turing test. I have linked a few if you want to check. There aren't so many videos on the Mary's room. It was created by the professor Frank Jackson, and it goes something like this. Mary is a brilliant scientist who is forced to investigate the world from a black and white room via a black and white television monitor. She specializes in neurophysiology of vision and acquires all the physical information there is to obtain about what goes on when we see ripe tomatoes or the blue sky, and use terms like red, blue, and so on. What will happen when Mary is released from her black and white room, or is given a color television monitor? Will she learn anything or not? So Mary knows all about the color blue, but when she sees the blue, there's something more. So this extra experience of seeing blue is what philosophers call as qualia. The idea of this thought experiment wasn't to prove the difference between AI and human beings, like the movie says. The idea was to show that there is more to consciousness than just knowledge, and that not all is reducible to physics. Ex Machina makes us reflect about these things. I spent the whole movie thinking about these thought experiments, thinking about what the mind is, and by the end the movie made me think about machines overcoming humanity. I mean, that's how the movie ends. Ava kills Nathan, abandons Caleb in that locked facility, and gets free. Then the credits start to roll, and this song starts. It isn't a song about AIs or about theories of mind. It's about being a woman oppressed by her husband. It's about wanting to get rid of this oppression, getting rid of the husband. I spent the entire movie together with Caleb and Nathan thinking about whether Ava was just simulating or if she really had consciousness, whether she really knew how to speak, whether she could really feel emotions.
And it won't tell you if it knows what chess is.
So it's simulation versus actual.
Yes.
Gotta say, I'm a bit surprised. I mean, did we ever get past the chess problem, as you phrased it? As in, how do you know if a machine is expressing a real emotion or just simulating one?
I was seeing Ava not as a woman, but as a thing, a robot.
Do you think I might be switched off because I don't function as well as I'm supposed to?
Ava, I don't know the answer to your question. It's not up to me.
Why is it up to anyone? Do you have people who test you and might switch you off?
No, I don't.
Then why do I?
There's a literal objectification of women, and that's part of what the film is about.
Did you know that Garland's first idea was to start the film with that song? It made me rethink the whole film. Ava is Frankenstein's creature. If you met the creature, how could you know it had a soul? How could you know the creature is capable of thinking, of feeling? Is it really feeling, or is it just simulating? Ava, just like Frankenstein's creature, was forbidden to be part of society. Though the creature knew how to speak, and most importantly, it could feel. It could feel pain, joy, solitude. What would you do if you meet the creature? Would you put it in a test to check if it's human? A Turing test? It's human only if you say so? Who defines what's a human and who is not? Aristotle, the ancient Greek philosopher, said that the courage of a man lies in commanding.
Are you fucking kidding me?
A woman's lies in obeying.
Hey, Kyoko. Go.
That a female is an incomplete male, as it were a deformity.
Go back to your room.
That a woman is perhaps an inferior being. And that female characters in tragedy will be inappropriate if they're too brave or too clever. Now, you might think that we are way past those times. These were ancient Greek times. We are in the 21st century. Things are different, right? We don't have that kind of sexism anymore. But I'm not really sure about that. Like, think about the right to vote. Women and black people got the right to vote much after white men. In USA, democracy was established in 1788, but only a few people could vote, those who had properties. In 1856, all white men got the right to vote, but only in 1920, with the 19th Amendment, which guaranteed universal suffrage, women got the right to vote in all elections. So the first woman to get elected was only 1922. The first black woman to get elected, Shirley Anita Chisholm, was only in 1968. That is 108 years after democracy was established in the USA. In the UK, it was pretty much the same. Only in 1918 could all men over 21 vote. And women got the right to vote too, but they had to be over 30. Why this age gap? What were they thinking? That women takes longer to develop? Also, they needed either to own a property or be married with a guy who owns a property. So that meant that only 2/3 of the women could really vote. So only 10 years after that, 1928, voting rights were extended to anyone over 21 years old. No matter how much a woman knew about politics, she could not vote. She could not run for a seat in the parliament. Last general election the UK had the highest number of female MPs ever elected, 34%. The global participation rate of women in national level parliament is about 24%. So things are getting better, but very slowly. Could you imagine knowing everything about something, but being forbidden to have a say, to be part of it, to experience it? Women did not have the right to vote because they were not seen as full-blown citizens. They were not seen as complete humans, much like Aristotle thought. The women was seen as a property, something owned by either the father or the husband. The women had no say in the public matters. She should stay at home and should respect her husband or her father. And it was very common for the husbands to be very violent to their partners. And it is still common. 1 in 4 women aged 18 and older in the USA have been victims of severe physical violence by an intimate partner.
Starting to annoy me.
When Kyoko is first presented, we don't know if she's a woman or a robot. Only much later is revealed that she's indeed a robot. She's dressed in a highly sensual way and she does the home chores. She cooks, she cleans, while Nathan, the man of the house, drinks all day long and is very violent to her. Caleb barely gives any attention to the violence Kyoko suffers, and it doesn't even cross his mind to save her together with Ava. Kyoko doesn't speak. Her voice is unimportant. The only thing she's given is sexuality. She's a sex worker for Nathan. He even sends her to Caleb. How many Kyokos are out there in an abusive marriage with a violent husband? Caleb is not presented as a bad guy, much the opposite.
They showed a good kid
With no family.
with a moral compass.
Though Caleb was nice, the dynamics was still one where Caleb would give the verdict whether Ava is or isn't a person.
What will happen to me if I fail your test?
When Ava meets Kyoko, that's the first time Ava is not in a position of being judged, of being tested. On this interpretation, the ending wasn't about AIs overcoming naive humans. Along this story, we have the feeling that Caleb will save Ava, the knight who saved the princess. It would be a story where Ava, as a princess, is passive. The plot twist at the end is that Ava becomes the protagonist. It wasn't a story about a man saving a woman. It was a story about a woman fighting her way to freedom. The woman as the protagonist of her own life, instead of a secondary role in some man's life. She got rid of her husbands. Ava, and the same is true for Kyoko, knows what freedom is. We can see some pictures of busy places in her room where Caleb had no access. Also, Ava likes to do abstract drawings. They don't represent any object.
I do drawings every day, but I never know what they're of.
You're not trying to sketch something specific, like an object or a person? Maybe you could try.
Okay.
Ava is doing what Pollock did, the automated painting. That is where freedom is. But Caleb could not see that on her. He even told her to draw an object.
And go where it wanted. Not deliberate, not random, someplace in between. What if Pollock had reversed the challenge? What if instead of making art without thinking, he said, you know what? I can't paint anything unless I know exactly why I'm doing it. What would have happened?
He never would have made a single mark.
Yes, you see, there's my guy. There's my buddy who thinks before he opens his mouth.
You're not trying to sketch something specific, like an object or a person? Maybe you could try.
That drawing reveals that Ava aspires for freedom. She knows what it is in a busy street. She craves for being society, much like the Christian Frankenstein. She has never been free, but she feels a desire to be free. The difference between Ava and Frankenstein is that Ava is more like Mary in the room. Ava knows everything about society. Ava knows everything about how is it to be free. Now, can you imagine that? Knowing what it means to be free, but being forbidden to be free? Knowing what it means to be able to talk, to walk, to be a person, but being forbidden of it. Mary knew everything about colors, but never saw the blue sky. Can you imagine how Mary would feel when she sees the sky for the first time? Ava knows what freedom is, but she had never been free. Can you imagine how it would feel to be free for the first time ever?